Hey everyone, it's Dr. Mike, founder of Performance Health and Chiropractic, an integrated healthcare facility that combines chiropractic care with functional medicine to help you eliminate your pain, reduce your risk of chronic disease, and reach your desired health goals. And I want to welcome you today to a very special individual that I have online. I'm super excited to have Carol Trimmer on board, who is the founder of Pure Living Space, Pure Living Space. That's purelivingspace.com. And essentially what Carol does is she helps you create a healthier home. Now, being a chiropractor and a functional medicine specialist, I really focus in on the human structure. I focus in on diets, supplementation, exercise, stress reduction, sleep hygiene, and all these great items that can help you. But what I often glance over and don't go too deep with is the impact that your environment can have on you, specifically your home environment. And that's where Carol's the expert, and I'm super excited to have her share some value with you that'll help you to take your health to the next level. So let me get into introducing Carol here, and then we'll dig into some questioning and hopefully provide you guys with some tremendous value. So Carol Trimmer, so several years ago, Carol's rescue cat changed her life. The cat ambushed her on the stairs, resulting in a nasty concussion. Months later, she was still trying to recover. As part of the Healthy Recovery Program, she began to clean up her home. She was shocked to discover the vast array of toxins in so many things she owned. She was also dismayed at how difficult it was to find accurate information. An analyst and researcher at heart, she began sifting through reports and studies and compiling information. Friends began asking her to help her create a healthier home. And that's when Carol, now vibrantly healthy, decided to launch Pure Living Space to help others create a safe and healthy home environment quickly, easily, and with confidence. Carol believes it's not all or nothing. Any step toward a less toxic home will contribute to your good health. Carol lives in Dallas with her husband, son, and cat. And yes, she's always on the lookout for another ambush, but so far, so good. So welcome, Carol. I appreciate you taking time out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. It's great to be here.
So I'm super excited. I love your bio, and what struck me is that this seems to have all started not only with the cat, but with the concussion. And with concussions being in the news on almost a daily basis with football and all that, a lot of people think it's just head problems, head pains, etc. But there's so much more that can become involved from, not only physical health, but mental and, from endocrinology and hormones and all that good stuff. So it's amazing that you kind of took that path and went down into looking into the health of your home, which is often overlooked. So Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? What helped you and what brought you about to, found Pure Living Space, and just tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, great. Well, actually the concussion was really my wake-up call. I had actually been going, had been going downhill for a number of years before that happened, which I didn't realize because it was such a slow decline. But then when I hit my head, I started having more serious chemical sensitivities. I had always been sensitive to certain chemicals, and you never go into stores that sold a lot of rubber shoes and things like that. Sure. So I knew I had an issue, but it just got so much worse after the concussion because I think my body just said, okay, we're done. So I started trying to find things like a water filter that would remove all the contaminants that I wanted. And I thought, well, this should be easy. I can spend a few hours this afternoon and it'll be done. But, 3 weeks later, I was still trying to figure it out. And I just thought that was ridiculous. Some of the sites that, share information are really, they're really supported by a single manufacturer. So I'm not sure I really felt good about looking at their side-by-side comparisons.
Conflict of interest.
Well, exactly. And then there was just so much, conflicting information, and a lot of it just wasn't science-based. Mm-hmm. So then I needed to buy a new mattress. I wanted to get an organic mattress. And boy, that took 6 months to figure that out. And it just doesn't seem like it should be that hard. Now, some of this I was doing with brain fog. Right. But does it make it easier? But even without brain fog, it is still a challenge. So I compiled all this information on, kitchenware and, organic clothing and towels and water and how to remodel, your home, how to paint, how to how to buy a new sofa without bringing a bunch of toxins into your home. And my friends started asking for, questions about cleaning products and personal care products, which I was happy to answer. And then I just thought, well, this is crazy. I need to share this. And that's really how I got started. So we launched back in April.
Wow.
And it's just been a lot of fun and very gratifying to get comments from people on the newsletter. This is a must read, and I can trust you. So I tell people it's expert advice. It's simple tips for what you can do, because I really want to make it easy. I don't want to raise people's anxiety levels. I want to let them know what the issue is, and then what is the solution, and to spell it out in clear and concise, in a clear and concise way.
And that's, I mean, to me, and this is what I'm glad that we've been able to connect, because it is so powerful what you bring to the table. I mean, who thinks about the mattress that they sleep on, and that may be causing them ill health? We're going to dive into some of this in just a little bit, but I mean, the water we drink every day, the items and products that we use on our skin, people don't think about that. And again, I'm guilty as charged, because I talk to people about diets and exercise and all that great stuff, and I kind of glance over the environmental impact. So I mean, I'm super excited that we were able to connect. I love your story. I love your passion behind everything. I mean, it comes through, and this is something that you've kind of built your life around. So I'm super excited to kind of get into this. Now, I'm going to play a little bit. This is going to be a little bit tongue in cheek, I guess, because I mean, I get it, but I want you to kind of convey it to the individuals that are listening in. Why should somebody be concerned about a healthy home? And I say that because we have, government agencies like the FDA who oversee our products and our food items, and they put their stamp of approval on it, saying it's okay for human consumption or usage. We have our municipalities who, clean our water and all that good stuff. So, what's your take on that? Well, when somebody asks you, why should I go for a healthy home? How do you remark to that? What would be your response, I guess?
Well, there's a couple things that come to mind. The first is that, there are gaps. We all think that we live in a highly regulated world, and that our personal care products, our cleaning products, are all tested and safe. But in reality, it's simply not true. And once you get under the covers and understand what the FDA and the Consumer Product Safety Commission, what they consider guidelines for safety and how much authority they have to regulate, you see why that there are so many issues. The other thing is that there's some really simple facts or myths that we've all been told, that like we all believe that the outdoor air is dirtier than our indoor air, and boy, that's simply not the case. And that was something that I learned 4 years ago when I started this journey.
Right.
And I was shocked. I thought, well, no, inside is where I'm safe. And
right.
I turn my AC on and it's all good, right? Well, it isn't, because everything we do inside of our homes, even showering and doing laundry and cooking, and everything we bring into our homes, aerosols and new furniture and paint and all those things create, they have their substances and their VOCs and they hang out in your home and they simply recirculate. So once you sort of understand that you didn't have the right information to start with, you realize that, it's not just, as you mentioned, it's not just diet, exercise, sleep, it's not just those things. You really have to pay attention to, you spend so much time in your house. You really have to pay attention to those things to really lead a truly healthy life.
And you're spot on with, I mean, it's never, to me, and when I speak with people, it's never one item. It could be a combination of diet. It could be, your stress levels. It could be your lack of sleep. It could be, and again, I'm glad that we're getting this out there, because not many people, like I said, look at what you're looking at, and it's powerful. And I mean, I could tell you story after story about, as I go back and, after we connected and thinking about some of the items and people I've spoke with, There was one gentleman I was in a group with who he sold cleaning products, and that's what he did. And he said to me, he goes, Mike, if the product smells clean, it's probably not good for you. They put all those additives in and all these other chemicals, and people don't realize it. They're in the bathroom in a very confined area with lack of airflow, inhaling these items, and they can cause a tremendous amount of problem. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Right, and then just to add to that, the term all natural is completely unregulated. So it can mean nothing. It can mean that it truly is all natural, or it's a marketing term. So if you're buying something that's all natural, unfortunately, and I've certainly fallen, for those products, doesn't mean that it has ingredients in there that are going to contribute to that.
So that's a great tip. I mean, I'm going to be learning a tremendous amount as well. So all natural doesn't necessarily, it's not regulated. It's kind of, some of these items like organic and some of these other ones have a little bit more tighter regulation, but all natural doesn't sound like it does have that regulation surrounding it.
Green and all natural are marketing terms.
Marketing buzzwords.
Yeah, that's
wow.
it.
Unfortunately.
Which is sad, because it would be nice to be able to grab products that said green and all natural and trust that they're unregulated. Those terms aren't regulated.
Unfortunately, it's about the bottom dollar, though, right?
Well, I'm a former business person at heart, so you can't blame people for, but the consumer has to really be a lot wiser than they would have thought.
Point well made. Do your due diligence and do your background research before you dive into something. Absolutely. Now, if I shift gears here a little bit, one of the things that I'll say we take for granted, and I always preach about proper hydration and make sure you're taking in adequate amounts of water, et cetera. There's another item that's often overlooked, and there's a lot of information out there or misinformation out there about the quality of our water. Like I shared earlier, I think most of us believe that if our municipality says our water is clean, then we should just assume that it's clean. And I guess one thing that comes up over and over, and I'm curious to see what your insight is on this, is the topic surrounding fluoride. Again, this is fluoride people deem to be, I guess you could say, relatively safe. I mean, dentists use it on our children's teeth. It's in our toothpaste. We put it in, many municipalities will put it in their water. What's your take on fluoride? Is that something that we need to be concerned about? Would you say, is it something that's relatively quote unquote safe? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I did a lot of reading about fluoride because I really didn't know what to think. And I found a study that was sponsored by the EPA in 2006. And had a nice panel of experts on it.
Okay.
And the study concluded that the maximum contaminant level in water was set too high, and so it's set at 4 milligrams per liter right now.
Okay.
And they recommended lowering it. And what the panel found was that in children 0 to 8 years old, that too much fluoride can cause enamel fluorosis, which is modeling of the teeth.
Right.
And I'm not a doctor, but I read in some cases some people think this is purely cosmetic. In other cases, they actually think it can be damaging to the tooth. And then there was the other thing that the panel agreed on was increased bone fracture in older adults. And then they said that there was significant evidence that it could impact your thyroid and brain function. But they weren't. The panel was not unanimous in that, but they did recommend further study. So 9 years ago, a group of really smart people said the levels are too high in water, and they should be reduced, and they have no action has been taken to date. So not every water company is going to have levels at 4 milligrams per liter,
Right.
Sometimes fluoride occurs naturally in water, and sometimes it's added. And I checked with our local water company, and we're around 2. But I think it's the Department of Health and Human Services was recommending something closer to that. So I have a reverse osmosis system that removes fluoride from my water. It's a very individual thing, but I read the science, and I was convinced that that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that one. And it's interesting. And this was a study you had shared. I believe you said it was from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA.
Yes.
And, it's deemed safe. But again, this is something, and I know our local municipality, I know that they do fortify the water with fluoride. And, you think about it, people are drinking this stuff day in and day out. And I look at it from, again, a functional medicine perspective. If somebody's having challenges or difficulties with detoxifying and processing chemicals like this, that will begin to accumulate. And, as you just shared, the dental erosion, the enamel erosion, the increase, bone fracture risk, and thyroid problems. These are major health concerns. And again, I don't know, is it coincidence or not, but we're seeing a lot more of it. Maybe not so much the dental erosion, but thyroid issues. I'm seeing an increased risk of that. And there's multiple factors that can, play a role, with that. But it's unbelievable. Tons of people coming in with osteopenia, osteoporosis. So it makes you wonder. And then this is something, again, people deem it to be safe because the EPA says it's safe, your municipality says it's safe, and it's unbelievable. Now, fluoride's one chemical. Water has so many chemicals in it, and many, minerals, et cetera, that are found in water can be quite beneficial. But are there any other things in addition to fluoride that people should be aware of? Maybe they should get their water supply tested for. I know I heard rumblings years ago, I believe, and if you heard, or correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at one point they were even talking about putting low dosage like statin medications for cholesterol levels in different water supplies, because people with high cholesterol, we're seeing more and more of that. So is there anything else that we need to be concerned about?
Yes. So I think the one thing that really surprised me when I was doing my research, and maybe other people will be, this will be welcome information for other people, but you have to understand how the EPA has got their contaminant levels set up. There are actually 2 measures. There's the one measure where it's the enforceable goal. So it's the maximum contaminant level, and your water department needs to comply with that. And then there's the health goal. And that can be set at the maximum or can be set lower. Okay. And the health goal takes into consideration the economics of cleaning your water to that degree to remove that. So, they're saying for maximum health, you shouldn't, consume any of this, but we're going to set the enforceable level, where you will be consuming some of it. So that's troubling.
Who sets the health goal? Is that the I know you said the EPA. They EPA. Also set that.
Yeah,
okay.
They have 2.
Okay.
And so there are things like arsenic and benzene, just those 2 for an example. You can get a full list on the EPA site, but arsenic and benzene, the health goal is none, is no benzene or arsenic in your water, but the enforceable level is higher.
Okay.
So so that's one reason why you might want to filter your water. The other thing is, your water company is not perfect.
Right.
They make mistakes,
sure.
And so you're going to exceed the maximum contaminant level in some cases, and then. The final thing is that there are only about, say, 100 contaminants that are regulated. And, there was one test that was done fairly recently where they were testing water and they found 300 contaminants.
No.
So, only a third of the contaminants in the water have regulations. And so, yes, you can say the EPA is probably focusing on the worst contaminants.
Sure.
But there's one in particular that they found PFCs, which are used to make, grease, stain, and water repellent.
Okay.
Things like nonstick cookware and waterproof clothing and spill-proof, coatings for your furniture and your carpet.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a couple PFCs that they're found in just about everybody's blood. And so it's PFOA and PFOS. I'm sorry, I'm getting so many acronyms in here, but neither one of these are regulated by the EPA. So that just shows you, that's just an example of, why you want to maybe, filter your water. A good carbon filter, you don't even have to get reverse osmosis for that. A good carbon filter will take those out if you buy the right one. And then the final reason is you don't know what your own plumbing is adding. So if you really believe that, that the EPA was doing a great job of protecting you, and I think they're doing a pretty good job, and the you didn't worry about them making mistakes, and you didn't worry about the unregulated, maybe you should worry about what is being added in your own pipes, PVC pipes, things like that. So anyway.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And you mentioned, and this is, I'd like to go down this path next because, for myself, but also for everyone out there, I know you shared then that you utilize a reverse osmosis filter, and you also, mentioned the importance of it. And I know over on your site there, purelivingspace.com, tons of information and great information. Everyone, make sure you visit it on water filters and how to choose the right one and all that good stuff. How do you choose the right one? And I bring that up because there's reverse osmosis, there's ion exchange, and you hear all these different buzzwords. And you were kind of alluding to it earlier about this one company that was doing the ratings on all these other filters and kind of skewing the data perhaps. But why choose it? You kind of hit on the importance of a water filter, but what do you look for? I mean, what should we be looking for? What do we need to consider? Any resources that you could guide us to would be helpful.
Right. So it's complex, but you really want filters that have been certified by an independent third party called NSF. And there are several different types of certifications.
What's that one again? You said the certification. What's the group?
NSF.
NSF.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you want to see those certifications, but you not only want to see the certifications, but you have to also read the report. Okay. Because you can be certified, but you may only be certified to take out 50% of 10 contaminants, and another water filter is certified to take out 99% of 60 contaminants. So you really have to do your homework, and which is what I tell people, that's what we did. We looked at hundreds of these things, and we came up with just a handful that were NSF certified. I'm sure there are some fine filters out there who have not gone through the certification process, but as I've told you before, I'm from the show me state. I want to see the results.
Sure.
And so that's what now. And then there's the other thing is you have to figure out what works for you. Not everyone. Some people rent, so they can't install a reverse osmosis system or an under the counter. So they could perhaps go with an above counter or with a pitcher. I mean, there was actually a water filter pitcher that actually removes fluoride. Now it takes a long time for it all to drip through there, but we have a tool on the site. It's called the Minimalist Guide to selecting a water filter, and it helps you select whether you should get a pitcher or on the counter or below the counter or below the counter reverse osmosis, and then it'll give you a short list of the ones that are certified where we've actually read the reports, and and these are really good filters.
So that's good to know. You've done some of the research and took out a lot of the legwork for us to make it real simple, right? It's just based on what do you need? Do you need under the counter? Do you need one, attached? That's good to know as well. Like I said, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I know your site does have a wealth of information. I've been kind of perusing it, and I wish we would have connected so much sooner, because just recently, talking about having that gap with the care that I deliver, was talking with a young lady, and we found that she was sensitive to fluoride. So I suggested that she find a filter. Well, her next question to me is, well, what's a good filter?
Right.
Well, I did a quick Google search on some things, and unfortunately at that time I didn't come across your site, but I didn't really have a resource. So I did the best that I can, and I told her, I said, listen, I did the best that I can. Take a look at it, do your own research. I'm pleased now that I have a resource that I can guide people to, and you could spend all day on your website, and we could have a conversation all day about all the information that's there, and it's all great stuff. And like I said, I would hit it, but didn't dive deep into it. So now we can dive deep into it to really kind of complete that puzzle. So that's great. That's fantastic. I like that. If we shift again, and you have a wealth of information, and there's so many different topics that we can talk about, but this is something that I think is going to be extremely valuable to folks out there. And, I want to talk a little bit about plastics. Now, here's another one where I think a lot of us deem it quote unquote safe. But I think that today's plastics are going to be like yesterday's mercury and lead. And I'll give you a quick story. My father tells me this story and has told it to me a number of times. But as a kid, he and his friends would play with mercury thermometers. They would break the glass and they would take the ball of mercury out and they would use it to coat coins. They'd play with it in their hand. I guess that liquidy metallic feel felt kind of neat. You look at it today, you wouldn't think of doing it. It's highly neurotoxic. It causes a wealth of problems. Same thing we're finding with the lead that was in the toys and in the paint, etc. I see today's plastics, being something just like that. So can you kind of give us a little insight into what we need to look for? I mean, again, water bottles, we throw stuff in our microwave and we cook with these plastics. I mean, it's everywhere. Can you give us some tips into what we need to look for, some things to consider if we were going to use plastics, if you can use them safely, some alternatives? Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So the key with plastics is to avoid number 3, number 6, and number 7.
Okay. Now, what do you mean by number? Where can we find that information? I know, but just so people out there.
Yeah. So you should be able to find it, on the bottom of the plastic piece. So number 3 is PVC. So it's vinyl chloride and really not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can vinyl shower curtains, vinyl flooring. Toys, sadly, and so so these things a lot of times have phthalates, and which softens the plastic, and so you can be exposed through it leaching into your food, so you can ingest it, and then it also ends up settling into your household dust.
Yeah,
so
it's everywhere.
Yeah, so you can breathe it in, and your children, who put everything into their mouths, can get the dust. And so number 3 is something good to stay away from. Number 6 is polystyrene, and I think most people know, that styrene is, don't have a cup of coffee, in a styrofoam cup. A lot of takeout comes in styrofoam. So, if you
still see it.
Yeah. So, take a mug to work,
Right.
and just use some common sense. If I think it's all a balance. So if the place that I like their takeout uses styrofoam, I immediately put it onto a plate when I get it home, and I don't store it in there. You can't really go crazy, but you can use some common sense things. And then the other one is number 7, which is number 7 is really a catch-all, and it can have BPA in it, and then also BPS, and I think the jury's still out on BPS, but the problems with BPA and the concerns about BPA are well known. So water bottles, you can have glass water bottles that are covered in silicone. You can use the high-grade stainless steel. Switch from your plastic kitchen storage containers to glass. When I switched, I just thought, why was I ever using it?
Right.
In the glass, you can see everything, and you throw it in the dishwasher, and it looks great, And if you have any scratched plastic and you're throwing that in the microwave, you should really stop doing that. I hate to tell people, like, be direct, but really stop doing that.
It's a fantastic tip. I mean, and that's something that I've gotten away from microwaves and never will put anything plastic in. And again, I've heard tons of information about it, but a lot of people don't realize it. Again, it's not that there's a lot of misinformation out there first and foremost, but a lot of people just aren't aware of it because they deem it to be safe. I mean, I just had a gentleman earlier this week, and he came in and he's concerned about having high BPA or bisphenol A levels. So we sent him out for some testing on it because he consumes a lot. It blew my mind because he consumes a lot of water from plastic bottles. He'll tell you first, hands down, that he does utilize plastic in the microwave. From receipts, people don't think about store receipts, and that can transmit some of the BPA and things.
Yeah.
And I said, it's great. We sent him for some testing, but I said, whether your test comes back or not, these are items and things that you need to consider just to reduce your exposure to these items. And they're endocrine disruptors, which essentially means that thyroid hormones, your insulin levels, male-female hormones, they can throw all of those items off, which then lead to diabetes, thyroid issues, etc. And
even obesity,
very obesogenic. And what happens is now people have this particular problem. They go to their medical doctor, and I'm all for medication, certainly a time and place for them. But then the medical doctor puts them on, say, a sugar-lowering medication. And next thing you know, they're not addressing the cause, and it leads to more problems. So take this stuff to heart, guys. I mean, this is super important information and things that we just take for granted, but can have a profound impact on turning your health around and taking you from chronic disease towards, optimal health. So great tips. I mean, it's good stuff.
Well, I will just mention one more thing on the BPA is so many canned foods are lined, and especially things that are acidic.
Right.
You really should not buy, tomato sauce in a can unless it's BPA free.
Yeah, and you see that more and more. Now you see these, and it makes me wonder still. But the plastic containers, they say they're touting BPA free, which kind of reminds me of what you were saying earlier about natural. Okay, it's BPA free, but it's still, does it have PVC in it? Does it have any of these other items that you had just alluded to? So buyer beware, I guess.
And there are good alternatives. I don't think you need to try to eliminate all plastics in your life, or at least I don't.
Sure.
But there are simple alternatives. You could just do, get the glass storage containers, and if you're going to microwave, then put it on a plate.
Right. Yeah, great tips. I mean, the microwave, I still have some concerns about microwave. The verdict to me is still out on that. There's one study I looked at that utilized some water, I guess it was, and they microwaved water, and the other water they took right from maybe the faucet or from a filter, and they watered plants, kept them in the same environment, and the one with the microwave water died way faster than the other one. So it makes you wonder what the microwave does, not only to the containers, but also the food products and whatever else you're putting in there and how it impacts our health.
Right, and boy, I don't know, food doesn't taste that great out of the microwave. It just, so there's another reason, right? If you want to eat good food, warm it up on the stove. It's not that hard.
Absolutely. Now, again, we could spend all day, and maybe at some point we'll have to have you back here so we can have a further conversation. There's so many questions that I would love to ask. But one of the other things I think that's super important that people understand and you kind of share your knowledge about is personal care products. And again, we talk about deodorants and cosmetics, and I'll talk to people sometimes about cosmetics when it comes to, say, gluten, the protein found in wheat, rye, barley, and oats, because sometimes some of these products contain gluten.
Oh.
However, I know there's a ton of other things that are in these items that aren't necessarily good for our health. And if you think about it, most of us on a daily basis are utilizing deodorant. We're putting soaps and lotions on our bodies, makeup for the female community out there. So can you shed some light, for us about these products? What are some of the concerns? What do we need to look for? And maybe give us some alternatives. Again, I know your website has a huge amount of information on this as well. So can you give us some kind of golden nuggets here that we can walk away with and utilize?
Yeah, so when I decided I was going to clean up my personal care products, I had a very bad day. I used the Environmental Working Group site.
Sure.
They have an application. You can go just on your laptop, or you can actually download the app, but it's called Skin Deep database. And I looked up my products, and the vast majority of my products were, on a 1 to 10 scale, they were 7 or above. So that is a good resource that people should be using. But the types of things you should be worried about with your personal care products are things like phthalates, which we've already talked about. They're in a lot of your products. Parabens, you just pick up your shampoo, and you will see you've got maybe 2 or 3 different types of parabens. And triclosan, is also another one. So there's a whole host. I've got a list of probably about 10 different substances that you should really try to avoid. Because it really does matter. I mean, you think that you're just putting a little lotion on, right? And the shampoo is just, you're rinsing it out, right?
Right.
But it really does. It can get absorbed. You can ingest it if it's lipstick or lip balm. You can inhale it if you're putting perfume on yourself. And it gets into your body. So it is smart to take some action and try to find some healthier products. I've got a list of products that are highly rated in terms of you don't even have to worry about reading the label. If you go out and pick up any of this brand, like Andalou,
Gotcha.
or Avalon Organics, those types of things, or Tom's of Maine. Just pick up any of those, you're gonna feel confident. You don't have to bother with the labels, or you can read the labels and check against the site. But you do absorb, and the FDA. Most people think the FDA is keeping us all safe, but they don't check the vast majority of the products. There are substances, I think that the FDA has banned, 10 or 11 substances,
Right.
where, countries like Japan and the European Union and Canada have banned over 1,000. And they're in our product. So, and I think Japan and the European Union and Canada, I mean, they probably, are onto something. So it really is something that you can look, and with that app, or just pick, write down a list of brands and go to your natural grocery store,
Right.
and you can find these things, or you can find them online. It is just not that hard anymore, and I think one of the big misconceptions that I had was that these products wouldn't work, that they would be awful, and nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, I actually like some of these products better than the products that I was using that had 7 and 8s.
How would you answer? Because again, that's probably one concern, like you said. But I know something that I hear quite often is that people say it's expensive to eat healthy. How would you say that, when somebody comes to you and they were to say, well, these products are more expensive? How would you respond to that? I know I have my response, but how do you?
Yeah, I think, maybe 5 years ago, I think they were more expensive, but not anymore. And, I think, you're not going to get it for the same price as maybe a Suave.
Right.
But it's not like it was before, where it was like the king's ransom to have these healthier products, because there are so many manufacturers now that are focusing on this, and so I don't think that holds true anymore. So I think they are affordable, and I think and they do work well.
Yeah, I listen. I tell people your health is your biggest investment. It's either pay now or pay later. If you get sick from this stuff, you're going to spend money trying to recover your health. It's better to be proactive than reactive. So, that's always my little kind of tidbit. But to each their own when it comes to those types of items.
Yeah, what is that quote that most people spend their lives trying to get money and ruin their health, and then they spend all their money trying to regain their health.
Yeah, you're spot on with it. You're exactly right. And it's true. I mean, I see it, unfortunately, day in and day out. People are spending their retirement going from doctor to doctor, you know, a pill for every ill, trying to recover. So every little bit counts. And what you've shared today is, again, little things that I don't think a lot of people think about that have a powerful impact on your overall health and well-being. So you mentioned you mentioned the one site. It was EWG, which is the Environmental Working Group, was a great source, and I'm familiar with them. They've got the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen that they put out with organic foods, which is fantastic. And then you also mentioned on your website, purelivingspace.com, that you have another list, you said, of some of the top items that we need to look for in our products. Do you also do you carry products and make recommendations? I know you mentioned a couple of names here, but do you have that information on your website as well?
I do.
Okay.
We've got we do carry Juice Beauty, which is you know, a great skincare, and then we recommend a number of others that that, you know, are readily available. So many things are just readily available if you run down to your, you know, Sprouts or Sunshine Market or Natural Grocer, so they're on the shelves. And you know, I would just make one recommendation is just to, you know, start. Don't try to do all your. I did this and I did it the wrong way. Don't try to do all your personal care products at once. Just pick, you know, start with your, you know, maybe your toothpaste or your lotions, and then move into your shampoos and things like that, because you'll make yourself crazy.
Great recommendation. You know, slow and steady wins the race. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And that's a fantastic recommendation, because you're right. So many people just feel that they need to do it all at once. They become overwhelmed. And then what happens is they're right back to square one. So great tip. Great tip there. Again, I could spend all day. I mean, there's so many things that we did not cover. I'd love to talk about household products. I'd love to talk about cookware and sleeping items. I mean, there's so many things. So at some point, we'll probably have to have you back here so we can expand and elaborate and get into some other detail on some other items here. As I'm kind of pulling things together here and we're kind of, you know, wrapping things up here, what I want you to do is, if you would, just kind of give us, you know, any parting words that you would like to share with everyone. If there's one thing, I'd like to leave people with at least one action step. And I'd like to see you take action on it. Something simple they could walk away with that would have a powerful impact and take their health in the right direction. And then let us know also, how can people get in contact with you? Where can they find some more information? Again, I'm going to plug this one because this is a fantastic, and I can't believe, I mean, you give this away, but you have a 12-week, you know, it's a free course that you go into deep dive into a lot of these subjects, which is very, very powerful. So just kind of give us some parting words, any tips that you may have, and then also where we can get in contact with you should we want some more information.
Okay, that's great. So go to purelivingspace.com, and, you know, my phone number, my email address are there, and I'm happy to help in any way. I do get people asking me about to do some extra research on things that isn't on the site yet, and I'm happy to do that. So you mentioned the 12-week course. It's called the Zen of Pure Living, and the whole idea is to make it simple and to give it to you in increments, and that the readership on that is very high, and you know, once people start reading it, you know, I haven't had anyone drop out so far of the series, which I think, you know, is
that's saying something.
Pretty proud of that. So it obviously speaks to a lot of people. So in terms of, you know, the one thing that people could do is I would just focus on, as I said before, on one area. Maybe focus on, you know, your bathroom cleaning products. And we actually have, if you sign up for the newsletter, we actually have a shopping list. And so we'll send you a shopping list of all the products that we vetted that truly are all natural and green.
Very nice.
And so you can, you know, maybe just pick your bathroom cleaners, or maybe just, you know, 15 minutes every day, open your windows in your house and let fresh air in, because, you know, believe it or not, the air outside is much fresher than indoors. Or, you know, decide you're going to put in a water filter, and you know, just make that a priority. So just pick one of those things and try to move forward, because it's as I said, as you mentioned earlier in my bio, it isn't all or nothing. Right. And a lot of, you know, don't throw up your hands. Everything doesn't cause cancer. there are things you can do, and so just take a forward step, and then realize that it can be done.
I mean, thank you so much. I mean, tremendous information. Guys, make sure you guys head over to purelivingspace.com, get that 12-week course. It's powerful. I think, again, myself included, we overlook these items such as water and air and cosmetics and things that we put on our skin and never think twice about it. So this is powerful information. Carol's done a lot of the legwork to take out the guesswork for it. So it's there, it's done for you. You get Carol's stamp of approval, so that's a good thing as well, along with the EPA and some of these other institutions. So go run over there, purelivingspace.com. Make sure you use that as a handy reference. And Carol, on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you so much for all your information, and we'll definitely have to do this again. I could sit here and chat for hours about this information. This is just great stuff. So we thank you very, very much. And until we sit down and talk again, everyone, just remember to eat well, move often, and stay healthy. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.